ADHD and anxiety, they exist together. In fact, anxiety exists in a lot of people that don't have ADHD, but it does seem to present itself a little bit more strongly in people that do have ADHD. Well, why is this? Anxiety is actually a good thing. And you're like, wait a minute, how is anxiety a good thing? It's crippling. I don't want to get off the couch. I don't want to go outside. I don't want to do any of these things. Well, that's not anxiety. Anxiety is actually a very short physiological response that our bodies feel. It should last anywhere from 30 to 90 seconds for a normal jolt of anxiety that our body gets. Think of anxiety as a good thing. It's a mini adrenaline rush. It is a call to action. It is a signal that something needs to change, and it really is your cue to shine. But society teaches us that anxiety is a bad thing, and then we just stop there. We're like, oh, don't feel anxious. Well, okay, that's like saying don't feel hungry or don't feel thirsty. Well, that's one of our body's regulatory mechanisms that puts us in a position to get our body feeling better. And in most cases, it's just trying to show us the way to more dopamine. And that's what anxiety exists for. But society teaches us nothing about it. A lot of times when we have anxiety that does not get us motivated to the correct action to solve whatever it is that our body thinks that we need to solve, it just starts guessing. It just starts inserting things that it thinks might be wrong. It might be, oh, you're afraid, or you are any number of other things that just isn't the case. Very similar to like when you go to the dentist and you get a shot and then all of a sudden your heart starts beating fast. Well, that's because there's literally adrenaline in the shot to get your face numb, and adrenaline makes your heart beat faster. And so I do think a lot of people are legitimately afraid of the dentist, but what most people actually are is just feeling an epinephrine reaction. When you have that kind of epinephrine surge going on, it's like an adrenaline rush. Most people associate that with a fearful thing. Well, it's technically not. It's just why is there adrenaline in there? Well, it's to keep the numbing there next to where it needs to be numb for longer. It's actually trying to help. But like we do most often in human behavior, we kind of maybe don't make the connection correctly. And so it's the same thing. Anxiety is actually good. It is there to help us. But when we don't accomplish the task that our body is trying to tell us to do, well, then what does it do? It sends us more anxiety. It's like, hey, they're not getting the picture. Maybe a little bit more of the same thing is going to help. In that moment, it's hard. I have had crippling panic attacks where I have to just go hide in the bathroom and just let my heart feel like it's going to explode and then settle down. So how do we do this? How do we learn what it is? Well, it is the same with almost everything that I'm going to talk about in most videos. It comes down to observation and awareness. We need to just sit with ourselves. We need to stop trying to solve whatever problem is, or whatever the problem we think is about to occur, and just let all of the facts come. So ADHD, we've got a video on decision making, and a lot of us with ADHD, there's usually good 10, 12 things that go into making a decision, but by step 1 or 2, a lot of people with ADHD, myself included, will try to start solving the problem. And once I realized that I was actually creating more problems and not getting anything done by trying to act too quickly, that has changed everything. So I now sit and wait for all of the information to come. And guess what? It's not that hard. I used to think it was impossible to wait for all the variables to come, but I have learned the hard way over a really long time that wait a few freaking seconds. Let all the rest of the variables come before you start planning the way that you're going to solve this task and get your little dopamine hit. Again, when we have a feeling of anxiety, if we let the first feeling that we have after that be awareness, why am I feeling this? Is there something short term that I already know that I need to do and my subconscious is trying to remind me to do it? Honestly, most of the time that's the case. Life is so much more simple than we can make it. And as somebody who has very stubbornly and bullheadedly just plowed on through and tried to solve problems after only getting to step 2 of a decision-making cycle, it helps so much. So how do we do this? Well, we sit with ourselves. We actually try to pause for a moment. We consider why our body is giving us this little mini adrenaline rush. like if it's not something that's obviously like aware, like right in front of us. When we are aware and then we actually take the appropriate action and get the dopamine, well, guess what? It goes away. Whatever the next task our body seems to think is important might jolt us with a little bit of anxiety. But see, a lot of us don't get trained like this. I had no clue how to do this until like literally last year. And it's uncomfortable. Like anxiety can be scary when it's untrained. This is an introductory video, but I just want to help share that like I have learned that anxiety is actually something that is our friend. And it can be your friend too. Like and subscribe. We're going to have a lot more discussions about anxiety. It is a huge portion of the day-to-day for people like me that have ADHD, and I'd love to share what I've learned. If you've learned some tips and tricks, I would love to hear them. This is a place for all of us to learn.